Hey everyone, welcome back to Building Success, the channel where we explore career growth, personal development, and everything in between. I'm your host, Stephen Kofer, here to help you navigate the world of early jobs and internships, and hopefully avoid some of the awkward mistakes I've made along the way. Trust me, I've been there. From engineering co-ops to leading multi-million-dollar projects, I've learned a thing or two about standing out in those critical early roles. For those of you who don't know, I started my career as a mechanical engineering co-op at a Fortune 200 company. Fast forward 2 decades, and I'm now leading teams of engineers and managers to deliver innovative products. But let me tell you, it all started with what I did in those early roles. So today, we're diving into how to succeed in your first job or internship and set the stage for long-term career growth. Here's 5 tips to succeed in early jobs. Tip number 1, show up and show out. Let's start with the basics, showing up. And I don't just mean being physically present. I mean really showing up. Show up to work well rested. Be curious. Ask questions. Offer to help on tasks that aren't necessarily in your job description. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was this. Treat your internship like a 3-month interview. They're watching, folks. And not in a creepy way, but in a can we see this person on our team in the long term kind of way. Intern left at 4:55 p.m. 3 days in a row. Docking points. Okay, co-op mentors or supervisors typically aren't that petty, but effort matters. Be the person who's engaged, who shows they care about the work. Just because you don't own the company doesn't mean you can't act as an owner. Tip number 2. Ask smart questions. I know, it's intimidating to speak up when you're new, but here's the trick. People love sharing their expertise. Why do you think online forums exist and special interest social media groups are so active? Ask your mentor or supervisor thoughtful questions like, why do we approach this process this way? Or, what's been your biggest challenge in this role? You'll learn faster and they'll see that you're invested. Asking thoughtful, open-ended questions such as these are surefire ways to build equity in your organization. Oh, and take notes. It's not just polite, it's practical. Imagine asking the same question 3 times. Not a good look. Trust me, I've been the guy juggling too many details in my head. Call me old school, but I still bring a notebook and a pen along to meetings. I once had a chief engineer share some excellent wisdom with me. We visited a supplier together, and afterward he asked me if I knew why he brought a notebook to the supplier visit. I said, to take notes? He said that he didn't need it to take notes, but rather he carries a notebook to supplier meetings to communicate to the supplier that he's interested and paying attention to what they're saying. What a great idea. Tip number 3, build relationships. This is a huge one. Build relationships. Your early jobs aren't just about the tasks, they're about the people. Connect with your colleagues and ask them about their career paths. And don't underestimate the power of a genuine thank you email after someone helps you out. It's those small touches that make you memorable. True story. Most of my co-op supervisors became mentors who helped me navigate big career moves later on. So don't just clock in and clock out. Invest in the relationships around you. Also, some of my coworkers during my co-op were part of the interview team that I later interviewed with for a full-time job. Tip number 4, own your mistakes. All right, real talk. You're going to mess up. Maybe you'll email the wrong person or misinterpret an assignment. It happens. The key is to own it. A simple, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Here's how I'm fixing it. That's going to go a long way. It shows maturity and accountability, 2 things every employer values. And please, no excuses like, well, nobody told me, or it wasn't my fault. Take responsibility and learn from it. Early in my career with my first employer after college, I was in China for a permanent mold casting tool runoff. The first parts from the tools didn't have the correct wall thickness. I thought for sure the tools must be incorrect, but after further investigation, the CAD models were incorrect. I didn't create the models personally, but as the design leader on the project, I took responsibility. The president of the supplier's company later told me that I earned their respect for how I owned the mistake. Tip number 5, stay hungry, stay humble. Finally, stay hungry and humble. Celebrate the wins, but don't get complacent. There's always more to learn. One thing I love about my current role is I learn something new nearly every single day. Take feedback as an opportunity to grow, not as criticism. I remember during one of my early engineering roles, the project engineer pulled me into a conference room one day to offer some constructive negative feedback. He said, "You're an engineer, right? Act like it." These were tough words to hear as a young engineer. We were working through some challenges on a big project, and the project engineer was frustrated with my approach to the work. I was putting too much emphasis on building consensus with the team rather than simply doing things my way. Instead of getting defensive, I asked for examples of what he meant, and that feedback helped me improve and has stuck with me for years. Your early jobs and internships are about more than just the work. They're your first chance to show what you're really made of and start building a foundation for a successful career. Remember, show up, ask questions, build relationships, own your mistakes, and stay humble. Those 5 things will set you apart. Thanks for watching Building Success. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who's starting their career. I'm Stephen Kofer, and I'll see you in the next video because we've got plenty more success to build together.